My name is Garage Coop and welcome to another video review on Elite Dangerous. What an incredible game. Let's just do that now. What an incredible game. Surely that intro would have given you an inkling to some of the amazing sights you get to see. I also used the in-game photo mode for all of that footage, so it just gives you an idea of how much creative space, pun, you have to work with here. But let's talk about why this took me so long to review, what it's like in 2020, because it's probably one of the most patched online server games out there. So interesting stuff going on, and I've only just pierced the initial tutorial slash first area in this game. 2 years, and it didn't take me that long in gameplay time. It's just that I didn't go to it immediately because I found it difficult. There was stuff in it I didn't understand, stuff that pushed me back, and that's why I want to make this video to all you guys, because it's incredible, this game, incredible. I am a massive fan of the original. The original came out when I was a boy, and it came out on the Amiga 500. There was a number of different versions of Elite, but what it did was establish itself as the first game to ever attempt to recreate the universe on screen. It was an incredible idea at the time. The amount of ships and wire rendering, polygons, and just joyful graphics I saw as a kid in that game was just unforgettable. It actually inspired me through my whole life to go forward and get involved in this medium, because it was just so revolutionary, the idea that you could have your own life in this spaceship within a computer. It just seemed mind-boggling. So let's talk about the changes with the original, because that was another thing that got my wick. Was I was just straight away like, this is nothing like the original. Well, the bare bones of the original are in here, but it's fluffed up with all this modern stuff, which you need to see past sometimes. Now, I'm showing you some of the UI and menus, and they, again, are quite daunting. The star map itself is incredibly useful, though, and you get to plan out your routes, and you basically go to space stations and get different missions. But these missions come in kind of 3 different areas. The first, and one of the most simple, is exploration, which you'll do by accident by just traveling to other stations and giving them data on a galaxy you've come from. The further you go, the more money you get back. The second is also involved with passenger and couriering. You can transport goods from station to station. You can just be a delivery guy, right? But there's sometimes stuff happens between destinations. Some destinations will be at war and it'll be a bit of a nightmare. There'll be high money on that. And then there's the sort of piracy slash federal guard slash policeman sort of just combat. You can basically go out there and be a complete arsehole. And that's why we're looking at this. The whole game revolves around the ships. Now, I didn't spot that at first. I didn't realise, because you start with such a mundane ship, how much character is in these different crafts. Now, it's exactly the same in Elite, the original, and that's what I loved about the names of the spaceships were all named after snakes and adders and stuff, and it was really cool, and they've kept that here. The Cobra's still here. Some of the classic designs are still here, but the depth at which you can construct and put together and spanner around with in regards to the mods and the different things that these ships come with, the distances they can travel, the armors that they have, the weapon ports that are available, what they're geared up to do. Some of them just aren't combat ships. Some of them are all about cargo, and you'd employ that for your courier missions. And then you might have a ship that's geared up for combat, that's quick and got guns. I mean, we're looking at our massive RPG pillar elements here. So deep with the ship, it's mind-blowing. I'm going to talk to you about some YouTubers who only talk about the ships. It's a whole world. There's 37 of them, and I'm getting into the first tier, the top of the first tier. Yeah, I've just got an eagle. People who know about that. Oh, look at the paint jobs. A little bit annoying with this microtransaction stuff in the top right-hand side, Michael. I know. I'm earning them anyway in game. Yes, I want a digital camo skin on my Klingon Deathbird. Trekkie, sorry if I got that wrong, but it does look Klingon, this one, right? And that's the fantasy for me. I am living the ultimate sci-fi story. Talk about travel, because travel is the one thing that a lot of people get knocked back by with this game, and a lot of the reviewers are also big names. IGN called it space trucking, right, which is such a smear on what this game is really all about. I totally enjoy the travel, I totally enjoy the logistics of it. You have to work out how many stars you can get to and whether or not you can actually make it with your fuel tanks, and these of course can be upgraded, but there's things called fuel stops, i.e. stars, get this, that you can scoop fuel from, and it's such a cool thing. So a star has a gravitational pull, obviously, and there's a sweet spot where you can wrestle with the gravitational pull of the star, still ride your cruise, your auto cruise, and then put out your fuel scoop and actually gather the fuel manually. Man, it's satisfying when you get it right. Once this is bolted on as a mechanic, it's a bit like leveling up and having loads of doors open on Metroid or something. You then realise that that map is just a playing field for you now. But you have to make sure you go via these stars, and it's quite tense. Your engine can overheat. If you're not paying attention, you can blow yourself up by doing this wrong. And I also just want to, yeah. I'm not going to do an Instagram account, but look how you can imagine how sucked in I'm getting with the ships, right? And with this capture photo mode, I am just in love with they're like family now, these ships. And get this, they all have a sort of slightly upgradable alter egos of themselves. Not all of them, but some of them. So if you've got the time and the money, you can actually go and get some seriously cool stuff going on. So this one is a special version of the Eagle. Imperial, I think it's got more hard points. Basically, it just behaves a bit better, but technically, is it really worth the money? That's a debate. It's quite a flashy spacecraft. I wouldn't use it for my day-to-day errands. Hell no. Showing you some of the promotional stuff, like you rank up and have access to better missions within the starports. That's a cool thing. More money starts coming your way, higher risk missions start getting delivered to you. You might have upgraded your cargo bay, meaning that you can carry a shed load more stuff, increasing your yield. We haven't even spoken about the most amazing thing in this game for me against the ships, and it's the combat. Now, I had a bad experience with No Man's Sky's combat. Firstly, it was a bit shallow, and secondly, they beefed it up after a few updates, after the Atlas update, I think. But it just felt like a shoot 'em up. It felt like I wasn't really in control too much of what was going on with my physical craft. I just was sliding around. It wasn't right. With this, man, so you have a throttle, an actual throttle. You can see it down there on the right-hand side. It's that blue thing going around that semicircle. And there's another blue bar, which is the sweet spot for my cornering. So I don't know if you remember a game called Descent, which came out on PC a very long time ago, which was a 360-degree third-person shoot 'em up, but it was really good, but it was in depth with going up and down and maneuvering around enemies. You have that here, man. It's amazing. There's a lot of noises, especially from the engines of the spacecraft. Now, when you buy a new spacecraft and you doodle around with it, maybe you run a few errands, but then you get in combat with it. And let's say you need to get out of the way of a missile, and you need to hit the boost button and do some banking. You'll hear your engine really work hard for the first of it. It's so satisfying. They're like cyber windy noises that just fit it perfectly. Aesthetically, perfect production on this game. Now, I haven't even mentioned the Thyroids, and if you know the original game, you'll know Thyroids, the very name strikes fear into your heart, because they were basically pirates. They had these pink hexagon craft, and they were quick and fast, and if you had one on your scanner, you shat yourself. Basically, it's different with this game. They're an alien race that are sort of guerrilla warfare in everybody's space stations, or just sending in scouts. It's weird. It's like this underlying spooky backstory. They've handled it quite well, and the information on the Thyroids and the Thyroids attacks is minimal, but you can find them. You can go and scout for installations on planets, or you could come across a scout. They look amazing. They're like Geiger style spacecraft. I haven't got any footage because I am a minion and would never go up against one at this stage in the game. My advice is to do what I did and look at some YouTubers that are into this game. One of the ones I recommend is Obsidian Ant. He's awesome about exploration, tells you cool planets to go to. You get to see some of Elite that people never get to clap eyes on. And you also have a guy called The Pilot who's clearly in love with his own voice, a little bit worse than me, but the way he talks about all of the spacecraft, so he's into the craft. So if you're looking at something that you're thinking of buying, go and see what The Pilot's got to say about it. His videos are quite incredible, to be fair. That's why I put that intro on there. That's my sort of shot over the bow of all you Elite Dangerous YouTubers that Coop's coming. He's not, is he? He's done one video, but yeah, now let's get to the meat. Imagine all this on your own private game. So you can play that. I'm playing all of this solo so far, obviously, but I can just ping an invite to my mate and say, look, let's do some missions together. No PvP, there's no randoms coming in. There's NPCs, obviously, but yeah, you can do all of the mining and the missions and the Thargoid stuff and all of the combat with wingmen. Your actual buddies next to you flying their own spacecraft that they've bought money or spanned it up and put paint jobs on. I mean, woof, there, that's a big one for me, and that's the pitch. And if you're thinking, well, I put it in my machine about a year ago and I went to a station and I bought a commodity and I made a bit of money, you have not spent the time in this game that you have supposed to. I stood on the precipice of the content for this game for 2 years thinking that I'd played it, and I hadn't. And it was only about 3-4 weeks ago that I thought, look, I really need to push deeper because it's just not going away, this game. People are talking about how incredible it is. Even the scientific community take this game seriously because it's based on real astronomy. Some of the lights you see and some of the angles through the nebulas or some of the moons you can witness orbiting are real maths. It's unbelievable. What an experience. And if you're like me and you got to the edge of the precipice, take a big dive into that plasma pool. I'll see you down there.